Hey there, BookTube. Noah. Happy Tag Tuesday. Everyone who reads and must converse is the channel. You know what it is. Thank you for coming by. And today I have been tagged in a tag that it was originally by Roz over at Scallydandling About the Books. Wonderful channel. Everybody that I know, pretty much knows her channel. But if you don't, go check her out. It's awesome. And I've been tagged by Alan at Big Hard Books and Classics, my buddy Alan. So for sure, Roz did a great job with this tag, even though this tag is not right up my alley. Whereas Alan was saying, this tag was made for me, And so I'm the type this tag is not made for me, because up until I joined BookTube, and just when I think about my past reading life, I don't reread hardly anything. Now, that's not exactly true. What I mean to say is I don't reread fiction. I don't reread stories that I've already read, because there's so much out there to experience, right? But there is a lot of books that I do reread, and this tag has made me think about that. So let's get to it. Thank you very much, Roz. Number one, where do you sit on the scale of rereads? Almost never to all the time. So, that's the scale of I almost never reread to all the time. And I would definitely be on the almost never side. I would be much more close to, one reread a year, if that, for most of my reading life. Number two, has that changed over your reading life? No, it hasn't, because when I started reading at a young age, I was just off to the races, and I read, book after book after book. When I finished a book, I was choosing my next read, and I was finding my next read right then. And I didn't reread anything for a very long time, because I was reading just primarily fiction for a very long time, and I was always wanting more, the next one. So that's just been my reading habit for my over my whole reading life. Number three, when do you reread? Immediately, years later, or when the mood strikes. So when I do reread something is going to be when the mood strikes, because it is something that I feel like I need to touch on again and get more of. And this is going to be nonfiction. These are like spiritual works, spiritual texts, things like that, or some kind of poetry. Roz was talking about, she rereads poetry. Well, of course we reread poetry. Poetry is these things that speak to the heart, So I've reread poetry quite a bit, just whenever the mood strikes me to touch on a certain poet again and hear their voice again speaking to my soul, But most all of my rereads are going to be books that I learn from, nonfiction or spiritual works and things like that I'm rereading to understand more and to learn more from. Number four, why do you reread books? Well, that is to gain more out of it. I want to gain more from a certain text, so I will reread it, and I'll reread it in the second reread, the second time reading it, or the third time reading it even, to study it, to actually dig into it more and pick apart certain things, rather than just that surface level, gaining the words and their meanings kind of thing. Number five, how do you reread? Faster, slower, just go to the best bits or whatever. So with that, I'll reread. I'm actually very, very good at going back to a book that I've read already, and going straight to something that I want to touch on, even if it's been a long time, and even if it is a fiction work. I can pretty much recall where it is in the narrative, or where it is in the book, what I'm trying to find, and I can go right to it. So if there's something I want to touch on that's specific like that, then I'll do that. And if it is a reread for a fiction book, and I'm going to reread something that is just a straightforward narrative like that, then I'm going to read it from start to finish. I'm going to read it in the same way that I read it the first time. Maybe a bit slower, in parts, maybe a bit faster. In some parts, maybe skimming parts through things that I just remember well and I know exactly what's coming up. But then in parts that I really that I'm doing the reread for, slower and more intentional. So number 6, who or what do you reread? Authors or genres? So I've already touched on that a little bit, because the kind of thing that I reread and that that has been brought to mind that I reread, that I do reread a lot, is spiritual texts. So things like the Lotus Sutra, we're doing a read of it right now. Me and a group of booktubers, Christy Lewis, Codex Cantina, Ami at Ivan's Nightmare, and a friend of his as well. And, I've read that book 4 or 5 times now. It was first time with the intention of experiencing it like any other book, but every other time is intentional reading to kind of gain more of a depth of understanding from it. And that will be the case with any of these books behind me. The kind of spiritual exploration, inner life, or path work. Something that's devoted towards path work, your own internal growth. Number 7, is there a book that you found better on a reread? No. I'm gonna reread something that I know what it is. I know what it is, and so I can see how that might work. That you might enjoy something even better and glean more from it and get into it more on the reread of a fiction work. And I definitely I will be rereading some fiction coming up, maybe the 1st of 2021. We're kicking around an idea of reading 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. And that will be a reread for me, and I'm looking forward to it because it's been a while since I read it. There's a lot going on in that novel, and we'll see how it is, for me to reread that. But that will be probably one of the only fiction books that I've reread in my entire life. Number 8, is there a book you found worse on a reread? And again, no, it's just, that maybe with a fiction work it can work out like that, but not with the kind of things that I do read and reread again. Number 9, which book have you reread the most? And the book that I've reread the most is the Bible. The King James Bible is probably the book that I've read the most. I've gone through, being brought up in a non-denominational Christian household, and I read it as a kid, as a young adult, just because I was that kind of kid, I wanted to, if we believe this, then I'm going to read it, okay? I'm going to check it out. And then I became disillusioned with it, with the Christian faith, and was a Buddhist for 10, 15 years, But even during that time, I would reread parts of the Bible as in spiritual study and in comparative religion study, things like that. The Bible has been pretty much a constant companion, as it is with any kind of comparative religion. And now in my life, it also is still just a go-to. It's alluded to in literature all over the place, modern and classic. It's a huge influential work that no matter what your faith, it behooves you to read the Bible. Okay, so that's the book that I've probably read the most and reread the most and touched on again, and I will read, over and over again. So thank you, BookTube. Raj, you did a great job with this tag. It was really fun. Alan, thank you for tagging me. And I'll go ahead and tag a couple of booktubers. What kind of booktubers reread a whole lot? I don't know. Roz and Alan have tagged, like everybody. So how about, let me tag Mindy at Mindy's Book Journey. Let me tag Books of Blood. How about you, bud? Let me know if you reread or how you reread if you do. Let's go ahead and let me tag. Can I tag one more? Okay, I'm tagging I Read Today. I Read Today. Kelsey over there. You tag me in the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory where I tagged you back, girl. All right, cool. Thank you, book team. Y'all have a good evening. Bye-bye.